I'm Kimberly Van Dyke, and I am from Wilson, North Carolina. I serve as the Downtown Development Director, as well as the Planning and Community Revitalization Director. So what do you do when you happen to have North Carolina's fastest internet speeds and North Carolina's official folk art in your community? Well, you leverage it for downtown development in the most innovative way you can. My presentation is called Leveraging Gigs and Gigs, and I'm going to talk to you about what we're trying to do in Wilson to grow our innovation economy. About 3 years ago, Wilson was selected by the Institute on Emerging Issues to take place in something that they called Innovate NC. And the Institute on Emerging Issues, for those of you who might not know, is a think tank that's based out of North Carolina State University. Their Innovate NC project was a project that they were trying to do to grow the innovation sector more across the state of North Carolina, instead of having the concentrations be so focused in Raleigh, the Triangle area, and Charlotte. And so it was a competitive process, and they selected 5 communities to think about how they would grow their innovation economies. Those communities were Wilson, Wilmington, Asheville, Pembroke, and Greensboro. And it was a cross-city learning collaborative that took 2 years, and we learned from experts and we learned from each other, and each community was to come up with their own plan to grow their innovation economy. So everyone's plan was different because every community has different assets. So for example, in Asheville, they were focused on climate science. They have a big NOAA center out there. And in Wilmington, they were focused on marine sciences for obvious reasons. Well, in Wilson, we decided to focus on arts and technology because we have these 2 assets that I talked about. So our plan is called Leveraging Gigs and Gigs, a strategic plan for Wilson's micropolitan innovation economy. And unlike a metropolitan, which is a larger area, we consider ourselves a micropolitan. The city of Wilson is the center of our county, Wilson County, so we're a micropolitan. And our vision is to become the greatest micropolitan innovation economy in the country. Big lofty goal. I love big lofty goals. So you might say, well, what are these gigs and gigs? So I talked about fastest internet speeds in North Carolina. The city of Wilson owns its own fiber optic network. It's a community-owned fiber optic network, and it does have gigabit speed internet, which means we have the fastest internet speed in all of North Carolina, and in fact, some of the fastest internet speeds in the entire country. We also have Whirligigs, which you can see here, are these giant kinetic sculptures that were made by an artist named Vala Simpson, who spent his entire life in Wilson County and created these giant sculptures out of cast-off materials, recycled materials. And several years ago, we decided to take, they were out in the county, take them into town, repair and conserve them, and then create a sculpture park in our downtown. And what you're seeing right now in front of you is a live stream of the Whirligig Park that is powered by Greenlight. So we have the webcam on the park, and it's powered by Greenlight. So it's kind of exactly what you see, our leveraging gigs and gigs. You see the Whirligigs and the gigabit speed internet coming together, so gigs and gigs. And in fact, our vision for downtown that we came up with several years ago when we worked with the North Carolina Main Street program talks about arts and innovation. And I'll read you our vision statement for our downtown. So this is however many years ago we said, okay, this is where we want to go, right? The crossroads of Southern charm and modern innovation, historic downtown Wilson is the heartbeat of a diverse community where arts, culture, and diverse businesses, unique businesses, draw people day and night. So that's our vision statement. And also, when we did this work, we created a strategic plan, and And of course, we had economic vitality goals, right, and strategies. And two of our strategies in that plan, the first one was to create an industrial artisan district. And at that time, we were thinking of focusing on artists and artisans, kind of around the industrial arts. And that has, I'll talk about this in a minute, but has now expanded to include innovation in the technology sector. And another one was to use Greenlight, the asset of Greenlight, to recruit businesses into our downtown. So those were two of the strategies that we came up with 6 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago, in our strategic plan, long before we participated in this Innovate and See thing. So as we were trying to work on our plan for Innovate and See, and we came up with this leveraging gigs and gigs, I was a strong advocate that yes, the innovation economy in Wilson needed to be throughout the community, but the nucleus of it, the center of it, really needed to be in historic downtown Wilson. Not everybody was on board with that in the beginning, and some people said no, it should just be spread throughout the community, and it doesn't need kind of a focal point. And there were a couple of us that said, well, really it does need to have a focal point, and it has to have a geographic area where you show up in the community and you feel like, I'm kind of like in the, in the center of all this energy and this innovation. So as part of our plan, we are creating an innovation zone in our downtown, and we are hoping to use these two assets to recruit businesses or ventures, whether they're nonprofit, for-profit, whatever, activities that are centered around technology or the arts or the intersection of arts and technology. And we hope to fill up our innovation zone as well as our whole community, but really heavily concentrated in our innovation zone, these types of artists, artisans, and technologists to fill up our innovation zone. And I'll show you a couple of examples of what we're working on. So one of the things that we're working on is we are creating something that we're calling the Innovation Hub in our downtown. We got a $1.2 million grant from the Golden Leaf Foundation to create something called the Innovation Hub. It will be a co-working space. That's one of the things that will be. And I'll show you a slide down and show you some more pictures of it a little bit better. So if you can see the renderings of it right here. And in this Innovation Hub, we hope to have creative people working and driving that innovation sector forward. And one of the companies that we are in the process of working with and is planning to relocate to Wilson is Triangle UAS, which is a drone company. And they're in Raleigh. And interestingly, the guy that started it is originally from Wilson. And so we're working with that company to do a lot of things to help our public services, fire, other utilities. We're using them, and now they're talking about moving into Wilson and moving into our Innovation Hub. Another business, more on the artisan side, is a really cool business called Artisan Leaf. We just sold them a building in downtown, and they did a major renovation, and they're doing sort of light manufacturing. They take tobacco leaves, cured tobacco leaves, and they make art and tabletops and countertops. Bar tops. So a lot of our downtown businesses now have countertops and bar tops made with their products. Music and More is a recording studio. This is another example of a business we have in downtown. We sold them the building, they renovated it, They have their recording studio, and this is the kind of business that relies on high-speed internet to send and receive large files, and you have to have symmetrical upload and download speeds. And a lot of times people will advertise high-speed internet, but they don't have symmetrical speeds, and which that's really important to certain business types. We are also trying to do things in innovative ways. So we're doing cool events, like our Eyes on Main Street Photo Festival, where we take photos from famous photographers and we blow them up and we put them in our vacant storefront windows. Susan mentioned yesterday moving our concept series to the Whirligig Park and rebranding it as Gig in the Park. And also, I forgot to bring up my prop. Larissa, can you hold up my bag? So I have a bag that's made out of Whirligig fabric. Some of you may be familiar with Sunbrella Fabrics. They approached us a few years ago and said, oh, we want to make a line of fabrics that's inspired by Whirligigs. And can we do that? And I said, sure, yeah, for a fee. And so we get 2% of the profits worldwide from that fabric that is sold, that is actually distributed worldwide. And then when our hospital decided they were going to do an $83 million renovation, and we got the hospital CEO on the Whirligig Park board, I said, hey Bill, so when you're doing this renovation, what do you think about using Whirligig fabric? And so they're all throughout the hospital. You see that Whirligig fabric. Not all of it is literal. Some of it's a little bit more interpretive, but it's really cool to go in there and see that Whirligig fabric throughout our hospital. We have a new brewery downtown, and you can see Larissa in that one picture. Because for those of you who don't know, she up until recently worked for Wilson. And again, that's an example of an artisan type of, so you see arts, technology, the intersection of art and technology. So that's what we're trying to do. That's our vision for our innovation economy in Wilson. And the why of why we're doing this is because innovation jobs, or jobs in the innovation sector, have the highest return on investment. It used to be manufacturing. Those are still really good jobs. But innovation jobs have the higher ROI, and we really want to change the economic trajectory of our community into our future, and we want the nucleus of that to be in historic downtown Wilson.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.